We went to the watch
Tell the truth.
immediately.
Well, no, while you and I were sitting on my couch watching this movie, did you have an erection at any point?
No. Did you?
Welcome to Bad Movies and Beer, the podcast where we look at bad movies. I'm Cooper, and
I'm Nolan.
today we watched Body of Evidence, the 1992 sex thriller starring Madonna and Willem Dafoe for some reason. Oh, man.
Yeah.
This was a doozy.
Well, welcome back. As again, this is Bad Movies and Beer, a podcast.
Yeah.
We watch bad movies and drink great beer.
Yep.
And then we sort of discuss them.
Full of spoilers. If you haven't heard our show before, there's lots of spoilers. Turn away now if you don't want to hear them.
Yes, because if you really are going to be upset about missing out on the plot aspects of Body of Evidence.
There actually are there are twists though. That's kind of the point, right?
Yeah,
it's a mystery. It's a sexual mystery.
It is a thriller, and there's a lot to talk about here.
I'm a little nervous about, not nervous, but I'm kind of curious how we're going to talk about some of this stuff.
This is going to be a challenging episode. If you've listened to other ones before, thank you. We're usually very open and probably crass or over the top about some of the stuff we talk to.
Yeah, this one seems a little dangerous.
It is hard. Please take everything you hear in this podcast today and always with a grain of salt and humor, right? Know that it's not meant to be.
I don't think
offensive.
we have to go. I think we're going too far now. I don't think we need a goddamn disclaimer.
Know. Well, the hard part here is we also don't want to get too personal because that can also be kind of weird, right? So we're gonna try to keep the commentary about
nobody wants
about
to
the podcast. Yeah, nobody wants to hear
good.
about that. Yeah.
Well, the beer we are drinking today, how appropriate considering. It's so ridiculous. We are drinking a beer called Thrust. which makes sense because of all the thrusting that Willem Dafoe does in this movie.
Well, yeah. Going in, you pitched this beer to me as this is going to be the perfect beer for this. And watching the movie, Willem Dafoe does very little thrusting.
Oh, he's thrusting it.
He's thrust upon.
He's thrusting when he's in the driver's seat.
Yeah, he's not in the driver's seat.
Is thrusting do you have to have a dick to thrust, or is thrusting just the act of the back and forth kind of can women thrust? Is she thrusting when she's on top of him? Is she just thrusting her pelvis? I don't know.
I think you can thrust without a penis. Yeah.
Then there you go. Yeah. Then you know what? He's thrusting. She's thrusting.
Everybody gets a little thrust.
And we're gonna get a little thrust right now. Let's crack it open.
All right, here we go. So this is a New England IPA from Great Lakes Brewery in Etobicoke, on the edge of Toronto there.
Toronto, Ontario, Canada?
Yes. So this, for a long time, was one of my favorite IPAs. I think they were sort of ahead of the game in making a New England-style IPA. Sort of the more citrusy, cloudy, foggy, hop-forward beer, and I'm really looking forward to this a lot.
So we'll go through the plot of the movie, and then, of course, at the end, we will rate it in our usual style, out of 10 for how bad, out of 10 for how enjoyable, with the goal of finding the elusive Crit 20.
Are you going to use the echo every time we introduce that?
If we ever find a Crit 20 movie, the echo, I think it really drives home how rare and important it is.
I know last week we got closest we've ever been.
Spookies.
Yeah, and 18 and 17
are
the closest I think we've ever been to that. If you didn't hear that episode, Spookies episode is definitely worth a listen.
Okay, so Body of Evidence. We begin with, kind of fade in credits. We are moving through a mansion, and you would ask me before this movie started, how much of this movie is just well, as we're moving through the mansion, room to room, you would begin to hear the very audible sounds of female moaning.
And male moaning.
Yep. And then we're just right into it. The first shot in the movie is just Madonna just riding a dude. Yeah, she's all out there. It's actually on a screen, though, because the gentleman was watching their intercourse in a homemade movie. There's a camera. There's some clamps and stuff. And we see the man, Andrew Marsh is his name, is dead.
Yeah, I was a little confused. I think they probably did it accurately, but he was eyes open and almost seemed to be enjoying the movie still well dead.
Well, I think he that, I mean, if you have to die watching yourself like get nailed by a hot lady, it's probably not the worst way to go. Immediately, there's a crime scene. The movie is still playing. There's playing on a loop, I guess, so the cops wanted to watch it. We get a nice scene where one of the officers is confused by what one of the devices is, and District Attorney, the prosecutor, played by Joe Mantegna, is just like, those are nipple clamps. He just knew right away. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they ask him in, like, of course, like a comedic, jokey way, and he's like, yeah I'm cultured.
One of the guys like, he's from L.A.
Yeah.
Oh, you know those people out there in L.A.?
Yeah.
Wild ones. So the Andrew Marsh's secretary is there. She comes in and she immediately is just like, oh yeah, that was his girlfriend, Rebecca Carlson, played by Madonna. Like, she killed him. Absolutely.
Had to be her.
We then cut to Andrew Marsh's funeral. Willem Dafoe shows up. He is playing lawyer Frank.
I didn't catch his last name. Yeah, like he was referred to as Frank throughout the entire movie. Frank is good enough.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
He shows up. He's talks to Madonna. She just asks, will he represent her? He says yes. And then he kind of expresses his concerns about the case. And she just says that it's not as bad as everyone thinks. They took something good between two people and they made it dirty.
Yeah, we were in love and they took our love.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So Willem Dafoe is having dinner with his wife. We find out later.
There's no indication this is his wife. And can this be his kid?
The way he's talking to that kid does not seem like the way a dad talks to his son. It seems like he's like a stepdad scenario, and maybe he is. Maybe she's his wife and she already had the kid. It's never really clear.
I know. It's and the reason why we wonder that is because after they're talking, the kid asks him, "Can you really screw someone to death?"
Yeah. And he tells him in no uncertain terms. No.
Yeah, and then he says, "This isn't something you should be worried about."
Wait, are you worried about this now? And the kid's like, no. He's kind of sad about it. And why wouldn't he be? I'd be saying that it's,
Well, and then he like rubs his head and puts his hat on it, and he's like, "Well, you're an attractive kid, so I could see it." Like,
I think he says attractive guy. I don't think he says attractive kid. Attractive kid sounds a little bit more creepy. Not much more. Just a little bit more.
Can it sound more creepy than when it's said by Willem Dafoe?
Well, I mean, that doesn't help. You're kind of starting in a hole there.
Oh my God.
His wife, Sharon is her name, of course assumes that Rebecca Carlson killed this guy. Like, right away, oh yeah, she killed him. She's sure. Secretary's sure. Everyone's sure, except Willem Dafoe. Not so sure. He's not sure.
I think he thinks it, but he doesn't want her to tell him.
I think it's his job to keep an open mind. He mentions that he never asks his clients. When they get to the interrogation, there's an interrogation scene now. They kind of go through a checklist asking her about things. Did you have sex with him? Yes, she says. Did you use handcuffs? Yes, she says. Did you use cocaine? No, she says. And they're puzzled because apparently the tox screen on his body came back positive for cocaine. She knows nothing about it. Did she know that he had a heart condition?
Yeah, you know what's not good? Cocaine and heart condition.
That's what they say. She says she had no idea. They start asking if she's a dominatrix. Willem Dafoe gets all offended by this. They're like, well, why didn't, how did you not know about his heart condition? And she's just like, I don't know why men lie.
I never know why men lie. They just do. Men lie.
Yeah, she said this really, really strongly, which made me feel like she definitely murdered the guy. Like, at this point, I was like, oh, just so hard.
She sold it. I mean, she sold it. But still, they arrest her right away.
Yep.
Frank doesn't really like it. He throws a bit of a tantrum. He kind of smashes his hand out on the desk, and he's mad. And come on. I forgot we were getting
some patented Willem Dafoe overacting.
Nice little rage. Yeah, nice little rage there. Turns out that she's in his will for most of his estate, about $8 million or so, which was a lot more money in 1992 than it is now. $8 million now. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still great, but it's not like world-changing. Like, it's not murder money, I don't think.
The podcast cannot see my raised brows at you right now. $8 million is still an absurd amount of money.
But is it enough to murder someone?
For a single woman?
I mean, the lawyer bills alone are going to come close to $8 million. If you're going to a murder trial, no? Lawyer bills are expensive, I think.
Yeah.
I just don't think, like, if it's like $800 million, yeah. Yeah. Old man to death for 800.
Oh my.
Wait, not me, but like, no, I'm saying her character.
Oh, that is definitely staying in the bucket.
Her character would maybe do that. I'm saying, like, if she's guilty.
No, yeah.
In the present day. All right. Anyway, we get to one of my favorite lines in the whole movie.
What are you going to do? Tag the body as a murder weapon? Exhibit A? It's not a crime to be a Great Lake.
Well, sure, I'd have to have myself indicted.
That was a really good one.
at this point, we're pretty early in the movie, and I'm kind of like, okay, this script's popping a little bit. This is all right.
Yeah, there's some good humor in it. There is some questions about it, and the mystery was setting up. Like, did he just die because they had some good sex?
Yeah.
Like, what happened?
Did he take the cocaine? Did she give him the cocaine? Who knows?
Who knows what's going on?
So they end up releasing her on bail, and she plays dumb about being in the will. She had no idea. She's finding out from Willem Dafoe. He's very concerned about them dragging her sex life into the trial, but she seems not that worried about it. We cut from there to Willem Dafoe thrusting.
This is the only time in the movie that he's actually thrusting.
Not true.
No?
Not true. Later on, there's a scene later on you're forgetting about.
Yeah, okay.
I think it's it's not as much as her, but he's thrusting quite a bit.
Uncomfortable.
He's having sex with his wife, Sharon, and it's very passionate. And when it's over, she tells him he's always great when he gets a big case.
Yeah, there was a big backhanded compliment there, and then you pointed out that she also immediately went in the shower, which can be seen as kind of insulting too.
We're not supposed to be getting too personal here. I feel like the run for the shower is kind of, it's a little insulting, I feel. It's like, wait, like why?
It's sort of like washing away the shame.
Yeah. Why is there shame? Why don't you want to like wallow?
There's something else about that scene that I did want to bring up. And if you have heard the pilot episode, then you know about this. If you haven't heard our pilot, it will probably pop up somewhere as a special edition. But we had a conversation about nipples in sex scenes.
That's true. Yeah.
And what was the very bold claim that you made during that pilot episode?
Yeah, this is making me a liar. In the movie we watched, the pilot episode, a guy puts his mouth directly on the woman's nipple.
And this made you pop. Like, you lost your mind while watching it. You're like, this never happens in real movies.
I'd never seen it before in a movie, and we see it right here. Willem Dafoe goes mouth to nipple on Julianne Moore.
This is count number 1. It happens again.
Well, and then later Madonna.
I was like, oh my God.
And I'm embarrassed now because I've seen this before, and so I don't know how I didn't
forgotten.
So they talked to the secretary. They interviewed the secretary, the same one who claimed that right away she killed her. She says that she saw Rebecca using all kinds of coke, just tons of coke, and Willem Dafoe is angry about this because he feels like she lied to him. She says, no, the secretary is lying. She proves it by taking him to her like herbal medicine guy, a naturopath. Is that what they're called?
It was sort of like a Eastern alternative medicine kind
Seems
of
like
place,
it.
right?
He produces, she gets her medicine, and it is a powder that you pull out of a vial like with a little Coke spoon.
Yeah.
But apparently it's not cocaine, it's Chinese peony root.
Yeah, and it was supposed to be sort of like a Tylenol or acetaminophen or
asprin
something.
substitute,
Right?
for cramps. Okay, now this is interesting because you thought, and I did not see this, but the doctor, I'm air quoting doctor, comes out, and you're like, is this guy supposed to be Asian?
Well, he was clearly a white man.
Yeah.
But the whole sort of vibe and everything in the store was sort of Eastern medicine, and he kind of was throwing his voice, I feel. Like it was...
Yeah, I can't rule out the idea that they were like, what if... I know we've already got the actor, but what if he's Chinese?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, hang on, though, but he's a white guy. Like, well, I know, but we'll just...
I felt like there was definitely some over-the-line stereotyping in that character's role.
It's a possible... And then he gives her acupuncture, which anyone can give anyone acupuncture, but I think,
And then there was a really awkward like setup where Willem Dafoe sees a cat there, and it makes him really happy, like the biggest smile on his face in the entire movie. And he goes over to the cat, and of course
that brings him closer to where she's getting the acupuncture fully nude.
And then he gets to like sneak through and look through the blinds at her,
which he does. He's just ogling her, but she catches him, and she knows he's there.
She asks for a ride home.
Yeah, is it still raining outside? Can you give me a ride home? And then she lives in a houseboat, and she invites him inside, but he doesn't go inside this time.
Yeah, I know. And I think it's here we get one of our many like erotic zooms. There's just so much zooming in on face and eyes.
So many close-ups, just trying to the lighting, so the eyes are in light, but the face is kind of shadowy. They're really trying to dial up these smoldering looks of intensity. I don't know, man. It's all the time. Then we get a whole bunch of trial scenes here. The prosecutor is claiming that basically she tried to fuck this dude to death, but it wasn't working fast enough, so she drugged him, gave him the cocaine. Willem Dafoe once again comes in with his defense of you can't fuck a person to death. He told that to the kid. He's telling it now to this courtroom full of jurors. Oh man, they call in a doctor. Doctor says this guy was not a regular cocaine user, so the use must have been unusual. They find a bottle of nasal spray, and cocaine was in the bottle of nasal spray. It was taken without his knowledge. And if he was doing the cocaine while they had sex, it would be the same as shooting a loaded gun at him.
Yeah, inflammatory. Much like they do a lot of like stereotypical courtroom kind of shit, right?
Yeah.
Like the judge is stereotypical. There's all
she's
kinds
sassy.
of
She's shutting it down. She also talks only in like metaphors.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of things that are brought up that someone objects to, and then it gets turned down.
There's
and
so many objections.
So
every 30 seconds, it's an objection.
I felt like they smashed together a Law and Order courtroom scene with a softcore pornography movie. Like, dude, that was sort of.
Yeah.
I just kept. There was always someone going over the top and proving the other person wrong in the courtroom. Like they made it way more exciting than it would ever be. Yet I was still bored to death in all of those things.
Yeah, and I don't think it helps that some of these acting performances are not great.
No, they're not.
Madonna's rough.
Yeah,
she's rough.
Just not a great actress. She's a talented pop musician, but acting chops, no.
It was not good. Anyway, we're still in the courtroom. They bring in a different doctor. This gentleman is German. He is an emergency room doctor, Dr. Alan Paley.
Clearly German.
Yes. I don't know what Germans name their kids. Man.
I don't know. It just seemed ridiculous.
I mean, it's not the most German sounding name, but it's whatever.
Yeah, maybe they were trying not to.
Oh, yeah. So it turns out that Andrew Marsh had been admitted to the ER with cocaine poisoning because he had taken some cocaine. It was having very horrible effects on his body. In fact, the effect was so bad, here comes another bold courtroom statement that the doctor warned him if he ever tried cocaine again, it would be like committing suicide. Secretary comes up. She testifies that Andrew Marsh was worried about Madonna him to death. I can't believe this is the plot of this movie. She's him to death.
Well, yeah, when you told me this was what it was going in, I was like, are you kidding me?
I was not kidding.
Yeah.
Nope.
No, absolutely not. And that secretary is an interesting character too.
She is. And all kind of tragic in a way. Willem Dafoe just immediately gets up, shits all over. He's like, what a strange conversation to have with your boss. She's like, we had a very long-term personal relationship, etc. He asks how she knew that she was using cocaine, and he brings up that she had her own drug problem. He confronts her with this in front of everyone, makes her cry. But I mean, he's trying to defend his client, so I guess that's all right. But man, he just goes at her. Her credibility is severely damaged, and it turns out that she gave him the cocaine that poisoned him and sent him to the ER. Allegedly, it's implied. Yeah. The judge overrules and does not force her to answer, but it sure seems that way. And Willem Dafoe is winning this case right now.
Yeah. What looked bad for Madonna and looked like she was going to get caught for him to death really gets turned around by the swift work of Willem Dafoe.
He's a good lawyer,
Frank.
As it turns out.
Well, I mean,
Frank Delaney. What do you think his name is?
I don't know.
Either.
It was exciting seeing that. It wasn't exciting. I was really bored, but it was Law and Order-esque as they're there and sort of fighting back. But what happens after that successful day in court?
He takes his client out to dinner. And they're having a little strategy talk, getting to know each other.
Yeah.
She tells a story about when she was younger. She used to steal strawberries from her neighbor's yard. She used to have to climb a fence to do this, and the fence was sharp. And then on the other side of the fence were rose bushes. So she would climb the sharp fence, get all scraped up, land in the rose bushes, get all scraped up. But when she ate those strawberries, they tasted extra sweet.
The entire time she's saying that, she is eating a strawberry in the she's just erotic way possible.
Dialed up the eroticism to 10 as she is eating the strawberry.
The camera's like zooming in on the juices on her lips, and it's like, oh my god, like a little over the top and on the nose.
I mean, they're just hitting you over the head with it. Just like she likes the pleasures better with pain.
I wrote down erotic zoom in here, and I had a bunch of check marks while we were watching this scene.
Okay, so he's intrigued by this though. He wants to know. He asked how she knew when she met Andrew Marsh. How did she know that he was into the same stuff? And she said, "You can just tell."
Yeah, this is where it was escalating for me because the only thing we'd sort of heard that she'd been into was like she handcuffed him and they filmed it. Right?
Nipple clamps.
Okay, some nipple clamps, but I was like, okay, like. But then, like, it certainly started to escalate really quickly.
Yeah,
you
get
like
the impression that the one that killed him was like a kind of like a regular Tuesday.
Yeah, Yeah, so apparently it gets really deviant, or like, and that all sexual deviants can see each other.
That seems
deviant is the wrong
strong.
word. Yeah, because like, well, and we're at a point
sexual
where,
fluidity.
I mean,
sexual openness.
So at the time this was made, all of those things were
A lot more hush hush.
Yeah, like, and I'm sure there were lots of people doing it. Now it's certainly much more open that like people can, as long as it's two consensual adults,
Let's
right?
say
like
sexual openness,
liberation.
Sure, there you go. People who are liberated sexually.
I don't know. That's not the right word either, but whatever.
Okay.
So they're in there. They're in.
Well, this is
and he's
great.
asking her
this
about
is
it,
great.
right?
Yeah,
Yes.
he asks her to find someone else in the room. Is there anyone in the room that's the same as you?
Yeah.
She does a little look around, all the different directions. He's on the edge of his seat to find this shit out. And she says, "Yeah, there's someone in here."
All right. Oh.
I'm not gonna tell you.
You're not going to tell me?
No, I'm not gonna tell you.
Why not?
Because he doesn't know it yet.
Yeah, he doesn't know.
He doesn't know it yet, but we know it. We know exactly. We know exactly what he's talking about.
Who could it be?
It's Willem Dafoe. Yeah, man. So
Jesus.
they go back to the houseboat.
But he's married apparently.
Oh yeah,
But we didn't know that until like another half an hour from now.
true. Well, we know he's in a relationship.
Well,
though.
yeah, but like, I don't know.
They get back to the houseboat. They're kind of like looking at each other. It's like a weird, like long goodbye. And then she just cuts right to it. She's like, "Yeah, it would be nice." And he's like, "Well, what do you mean?" Playing dumb. And she's like, "Yeah, it'd be nice if we made love." I think it's the exact quote.
Yeah, it sounds.
And he's
sounds
like, "That's what do you mean?" Like he's but whatever. And she's like, "There's nothing wrong with admitting that you want me, Frank."
And then what does Frank do?
He ponders this for a second.
Yeah, and then
he goes in for the kiss.
Yeah, what does
She
do?
stops him.
Yeah, she puts the hand up.
She's playing the game, man.
Pushes him away.
She wants to be the one who makes this happen. She's in charge, not him. So she stops him and then, tells him goodnight. He goes to leave. But as he goes to his car, he's sitting there just being like all rattled by this.
Yeah.
He notices that she has left her sliding door open
Yes.
and the curtains behind that sliding door are flowing out in the shape of a vagina.
Yeah. Well, she comes out onto her balcony.
Hang on. I want to be very clear about this. You were the one who was like, "Do those curtains look like a vagina?"
So we're gonna go back there in a second. She comes out on the balcony, and then there's a shot to him again, like pondering, and then they go back, and she's off the balcony. She's not there anymore.
She's gone mysterious.
And they zoom in on the door and the blinds or curtains, and they form into the shape of vulva. Like, there's no denying that this billowing is intended to make you think of entering a vagina.
Well, I mean, it's, you know what? Considering how heavy-handed the symbolism has been up to this point, I am sure it was not a happy accident.
Yeah, there's no way that they would have shot that. It might have been shot accidentally, and then someone watched that.
No, that would be a happy accident. That's my point. There's no way.
Someone might have shot it back
There's
and
no
watched
way
it and just
edit
been
bay
like,
and they're like, "Oh, wow, that worked out great."
Well, I don't know. Yeah, but how do you think they plan to try to make it billow in the form of a vagina to get him to enter?
Well,
into
I mean,
that?
I think if you have this sounds so ridiculous. If you have like an opening and it's like a north-south opening and there's two like flaps, I don't know, man. Come on, what are you making me say all these things?
I didn't make you say anything.
God damn it, that was your theory. What did I?
Well,
All right.
you already promised that if you got 800 million, you'd.
No, that's the character, man. God damn it. So he goes in the house. He goes in the house.
He just enters the door.
Well, dude,
what are you doing?
Like it's clearly an invitation.
No,
sorry. Let me be clear. In the context of this movie, it's clearly an invitation.
so.
He was out. Why did she leave the door open? You don't just leave the door open.
it was a hot night. She wanted some air through the.
Okay, except we just watched this movie, so you know she has laid this trap. This is a trap for him to come
Yes,
in because
I
he
know.
comes in, he's like creeping through the house. It's super creepy, probably more so because he's Willem Dafoe. And then she just like emerges from this corner. She's been hiding in this corner waiting. She knew he was coming back in, man. She is playing him like a fiddle right now.
Yeah, no, it's clear once he enters that this was always her plan.
Yeah, man. And then it's on. They just start going at it rough.
It's
talking,
like a game of
dude,
like they rip each other's clothes off.
torn shirts,
Yeah.
torn dresses. He rips her bra off. There's biting. She runs upstairs. He comes up and he finds her laying there in giant underwear.
So we've talked about bras in previous episodes. The panties in this episode are amazing.
I don't remember at what point thongs became a thing, but I'm guessing it wasn't a thing in 92 because these are enormous.
And it wasn't even, well, the backs were big, but the fronts were so high. They were above the waist.
Yeah.
Like they were above the belly button level underwear. Like things that like
massive, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're basically scraping the bottom of her boobs. Like they're way up there.
I do picture my grandparents, and maybe that's why.
What? Jesus Christ!
Maybe
What's
that's
happening
why
right now?
getting an erection was so hard.
Oh God! All right. Anyway, she takes his belt off. She ties his arms back. She throws him on the bed. She says, "My way." Then she grabs a candle and starts pouring wax on him. Then she pours champagne after the wax to cool it down, and then she's licking the champagne and also the wax.
Yeah, she's getting wax all over her face. There's literally a shot where there's wax all over her lips, and I was like,
I don't know,
what?
man.
I was pretty confused. It was throughout this whole scene. We also
his
got
faces. His faces are so unsettling.
Oh my God! You just keep panning on his face, which is like this weird look of pleasure and pain.
Oh, it's so
but
creepy.
Willem Dafoe
It's so creepy.
always looks like he's having an O face. Like that's
a
his
little
resting.
true.
He has resting O
His
face.
resting O face.
So it was kind of a challenge. I was like, is that just Willem Dafoe's
Oh,
regular
my God.
face, or is he
Maybe.
liking or not liking this?
I don't know, man. Well, but in a second, it goes way further because she takes the candle
Oh yeah.
and she just pours. We're led to believe that she pours the hot wax on his dick.
All over it, like the whole
She
full
dumps
candle
that
with the wax.
candle
Yeah.
out. It's the most wax of the whole thing.
Yes.
All over his dong. And then she blows the candle out and then just starts f***ing him. And I was like,
Yeah.
I'm like, can you put wax in your vagina?
Well, there was a lot
inside?
The the dripping of the wax and the blowing out of the candle was super symbolic of like him. So I was surprised that it sort of continued afterwards. Like I thought they might leave it there as like an artsy.
You think he had an orgasm just from the hot wax?
No, I don't think he could, but I think that's sort of what the candle was symbolizing or what it looked like.
I
when
took
she
it
was
more as
doing
a
that, right? Like,
this part of the foreplay is over. The foreplay is over,
Yeah.
and now it's time.
Well, it
Like,
definitely
the candle of foreplay is getting
Yeah.
snuffed out, and now it's time to light the
I can't imagine
Yule log of.
the Yule log. I can't imagine the wax provided any kind of benefit to either of them in that situation. In fact, it was probably sticky. Like I would assume, if anything,
did it
that
have
would
time to
cause
cool?
It would cause more friction than provide anything else, right? Like that couldn't have been good for either of them in that situation. It was an interesting sex scene. It also featured nipple and mouth number 2 of the movie.
I was not tracking all the nipple to mouth action,
I
but
was
well,
just
good
as
for you, man.
I had
Yeah.
to. I gotta get the digs in when I can.
Okay. He this is our most uncomfortable episode ever.
I mean, whenever you watch an erotic thriller with your friend,
it's so weird.
It's a strange experience.
It is very strange. Almost as strange as waking up next to your wife after a night of passionate hot wax.
Yeah, this cut here was interesting.
He didn't even know where he was.
No, we were confused, and so was Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, he's just his perspective has changed so much. It was just a life altering moment that I guess he just drove home on autopilot, wasn't thinking, went to bed and woke up next to her. He goes, pops a shower, and notices that he's just covered in wax burns because, of course, I can't even imagine how burned his dick is.
Oh God,
Giant red splotches on his chest. Like,
yeah.
Is there enough? Is he just like
It's a mess
just
down there.
dropping it into a vat of aloe? Like, what's going on?
Maybe.
I mean, yeah, she seems to not notice. And then we go back to the trial because I guess these sexual exploits, they exist behind the facade of everyday life. So that's my philosophical
So you're
take
saying
on this.
that that's what they're trying to tell you is that this is happening all
we
the
get
time.
This sharp contrast of the mundane court scenes with the extremely erotic, rough sex scenes. I don't know, man. I'm grasping here. Are
they trying to say that's what should be happening in our lives, and if it's not, then we're not achieving our
If it's
greatest
not.
life? Yeah. You can't see in podcast land, but Cooper's throwing an eyebrow at me right now. You know.
No. We go back to the trial anyway, and they recall the German ER doctor, Dr. Paley. Turns out that he used to date Rebecca.
What?
Yeah. And she might have inquired whether or not cocaine would kill Andrew Marsh, because Andrew Marsh was, of course, a patient of the doctor's.
Whoa, small world.
Yeah. But Willem Dafoe is just like, nah, you're just mad because she wouldn't pour hot wax on your.
That was the argument. Yeah, that did happen. Yeah.
That's his in-court defense. That's how he rebuffs the testimony.
Well, there was no mention of hot wax, but there was of having sex for sure.
Oh, man. He proves it with an answering machine message. Remember answering machines? And so understandably, now it seems like his credibility is also gone. Everyone's in a good mood. Willem Dafoe and Rebecca are riding the elevator down to the parking garage, and there's other people in the elevator.
Yeah.
But they're standing in the back, and, an elevator, you tend to face forward towards the door.
Yeah, nobody looks back in the elevator.
No one's looking back, and thank goodness for that, because she starts tripping him off.
She goes straight for an elevator HJ.
Yeah, gives him a little old-fashioned in the elevator.
Zips his pants and puts her hand right inside
just
there.
Going for it, and he has this fucking creepy smile on his face because of
she
course
has a creepy smile too. They're both
having
smiling.
a really good time. Yeah,
and he uses his, of course, legal briefcase to just sort of pull it up and cover the action that's going on.
Yeah, that's
and they were supposed to be going to parking level 3 with everyone else, but
she changed plans. P4. Let's go to
P4, please. Yeah.
And once they get to P4, she climbs up on the hood of a car. She uses one of her high-heeled shoes to break the light bulb, casting light on that part of the car.
There's so much creepy music underground here.
It's a lot of creep. Yeah.
Like, the whole setting of this scene and the music and the tone is ridiculous to me.
It is. And what's especially ridiculous is she's on the hood of the car. He comes over. Basically, she takes off her underwear. Again, pretty big. Not as big as the pair before.
Well, there's high.
Yeah, but they're much more reasonable. I feel like those would pass muster in today's
if the waist was
society.
like 7 inches lower. Yes.
Anyway, those come down. He starts going down on her right there while she's standing on the hood of the car, hanging on like a pipe.
She's kind of like hanging from the ceiling.
Then she pushes him down on the broken glass, sits down on his face, and as this is happening, like a car drives by, like 6 feet away from them.
It doesn't even slow. Like didn't even.
There's no way. I know they turned the light off, but the car has headlights on. There's no way this car is as close to them as I am to you right now, sitting here in this thing, and like she's just right there on his face, like. There's no way the driver didn't see this. Not a moment's hesitation, not a head turn.
But would you stop if you were driving and you drove past that? Like,
I'd slow down.
Going. You would, yeah.
I'd slow down.
You'd be like, oh.
I'd slow down and take a look. Yeah, I'd be like, what is happening here?
I think I would drive past as fast as I could.
Might give it a little honk.
Good for you.
Yeah,
eh?
good for you. That's exactly what I was going to say. It's a little good for you. Good for you. And then they end up having sex, of course, on the broken glass.
Yeah. Things have really escalated really fast. Yeah. Like at this point I wrote down there's been a dramatic escalation. This is I don't know. This is a word that I'm going to use from now on to describe when sexual relationships move way too fast. Because I don't know how we went from being your trial lawyer to wax sex to like banging in P4 at the parking garage on broken glass. Yeah.
Yep. It really has escalated very quickly. You know what else is about to escalate quickly is the trial. We go back to the trial.
Yes.
They call a new witness. Rebecca looks nervous. This gentleman comes in, played by Hollywood legend Frank Langella. He's an older gentleman, and he's her ex-lover. Apparently, they had a very intense sex life, which I would not have guessed.
No, why would that
of course
be a
not.
thing? No, like they just had missionary once
every so
second
often, yeah.
Thursday, right? That was the plan.
Anyway, it turns out she was always trying to get him worked up, but he was nervous about this because he had, wait for it, a bad heart.
What?
I know.
Was this the only medical excuse they could have for fucking someone to death?
I guess so. What else is there?
I don't know. There's got to be another way, like you can get overworked.
Epilepsy if your head keeps blocking out the light. And then
maybe
you're rocking back and forth,
like
and it's like light, dark, light, dark.
Well,
I
you
don't
could
know.
definitely have an aneurysm or something. Like it doesn't have to be only heart failure here.
No, but I guess, they're trying to establish a pattern. What if it's two different things? There's not a pattern. They got to establish a pattern.
If she's trying to someone to death, it doesn't matter what the thing is.
I just think in this case, it's more the same. Why am I defending this piece of shit movie? I don't know why I'm doing this. Oh, man. Anyway, he, unlike Andrew Marsh, had bypass surgery, and now he's fine. His doctor said he could live for a long time. And as soon as that happened, she was no longer interested. She bailed out.
It's funny. He says this line. He says,
she said she was going to me like I'd never been before.
Oh, and his eyes are just going crazy.
Yeah, and shooting all over the place. And I was like, whoa. Like, that can't be the first time she's ever said that to you, right? Like this guy's blowing it out of proportion. They said it in a way that it was supposed to be super epic, and it fell super flat for me.
I mean, he's trying to sell it with the eyes, but it's not. I don't know. It sure seems like, based on his testimony, that she was trying to fuck him to death. So Willem Dafoe is now quite mad.
Yeah, it looks real bad for Dafoe and for Madonna here in the trial now.
And he's just now realizing that maybe it wasn't a good idea to get involved with her. He bails out, tells her from now on she's just a client, and then he goes to see his wife, but she's a little bit frosty.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it turns out that she has figured out that this is going on.
Yeah. This is where I found out she was his wife.
Yeah, me too.
I had made the assumption all along that they were dating and that this kid wasn't his, but it turns out that they are married. I don't know how we would have gotten that before. But I guess Madonna calls her up, and that tips her off to something going on. And then she also mentions the wax burns on his chest.
Yeah, what did she do to you, Frank? What did she do to you? I thought we were happy. So she tells him to hit the bricks.
Yeah.
He's like, but I don't want to lose you, etc. And then she just comes at him with, then you shouldn't have fucked her. And there's no argument for that. There's no argument for that.
And then where does he head immediately? He clearly wants to keep this marriage together.
He goes right away. He just goes back to Madonna.
Yeah, he immediately heads after her to confront her again.
Barges into the old houseboat to confront her, but she just kind of starts rubbing one out right in front of him. That's her defense.
Yeah, this was like somehow she's on the... she got to the floor because he pushed her down.
He pushed her on the floor.
He pushed her down out of anger, and of course this to her was exciting. So she licks her middle finger.
Big time. That was
very,
a slow lick also.
A very suggestive way.
Then she worms her hand through like
a meter of underwear. Yeah. You see her entire arm up to her shoulder go into her underwear.
That is an exaggeration. But only slightly. That is only a slight exaggeration.
And then he has his back turned, but he knows what's going on, and he's like contemplating being a good person.
Oh, he can't resist. There's never... maybe you thought he was going to walk out of there, and he wasn't walking out of there. And why would he? Think about it. His marriage is over. She just told him. She told him to get lost. What are you clinging to?
Is it over?
Either way, man, you got to assume that it's over. Why wouldn't you just, what the hell at this point?
Just compile onto the issues? Yeah.
I mean, if it's already over, how can you make it worse?
By having sex with a crazy woman again?
Well, that's what he does. I don't know what to tell you. That's what he does. But this time, we get a little bit of a role reversal.
Yeah, there's weird biblical music.
She brings out the handcuffs. He takes them away from her. He handcuffs her. And then they're going at it. And we are unclear on the nature of this particular sex act.
I was super uncomfortable with this scene, mostly because, I know they've played up the sort of intensity of the sexual relationships that Madonna has, but he handcuffs her down, flips her over, and forces himself on her from behind. This
is by far the most rapey of the sex scenes.
Yeah, it was something that I was super uncomfortable with. And it appeared that she was in opposition to it.
At first, for sure.
And then started to appear to enjoy it, and then it was over quickly. So I don't know. I think if the movie were made today, that scene...
I don't think this movie can be made today. Are you shitting me?
Well...
When's the last time they made a movie like this?
I didn't see 50 Shades of Grey. But I'm guessing that series of movies touches
no
on
murder in
semblance.
that. They end as equals. They're getting married. No, this is not about murder.
No, that's fair. But I think the murder part actually people wouldn't object to today, right? I think that kind of court trial.
Hang on though, if she's
right?
to death, that might be objectionable.
Well, it is objectionable, but I don't think that wouldn't be a part of a plot. I think certain sexual acts or certain acts of sexuality that look unconsensual wouldn't be allowed.
Yeah, I mean,
they would be in a, but I don't know. But
in a better movie,
rape is shown
in a movie that can handle it with the appropriate weight and measure.
If it's shown in a non-positive light, right? The part of that was a problem in this one was it wasn't shown in a problematic way.
I guess this is we gotta move past this.
All right,
we'll
go back. There's this really creepy scene where his wife finds out he's cheating, and he goes back and he confronts her, and then they have maybe non-consensual sex, and it's really rough. But then where do we find ourselves back?
Well, this actually the next morning, he's now sleeping in his office because he's been kicked out of his house. And also, apparently, he wasn't allowed to stay in the houseboat. So maybe there's another sign that it wasn't super consensual, because why wouldn't she be like, yeah, you can stay here for tonight? He's back at the office. He's sleeping in the office. One of his coworkers wakes him up because this guy has found something out Turns out the tape that they had recorded their lovemaking the night of the man's death was recorded over an earlier tape, an other sex tape of him with the secretary. Yeah, so they recall the secretary. They confront her with this new evidence. She admits that she was in love with him and that she hated Rebecca and that she bought the nasal spray. Oh, the twists.
Well, and I don't know if we explained, the nasal spray was the way that the cocaine got into the
cocaine in
system.
the nasal spray, yeah.
That's how he died that day, yeah.
Yeah, so that should be enough to create reasonable doubt, but Madonna, Rebecca Carlson, wants to testify. Willem Dafoe's against it, but it's going to happen. But not before we get a super awkward bathroom encounter where Rebecca's getting ready for her testimony and Willem Dafoe's wife, Carol, she comes out of the stall. She's in the bathroom also.
Why is she there?
Yeah, I don't know either.
Like, she came to see her husband on the closing day of the court case to support
her
him?
husband that she kicked out of the house?
Yeah, because he was like banging this chick? Like, or did she just come to see who she was? Or
not to break the fourth wall, but I think she's there so they can have this bathroom scene. I think that's the point.
We need the tension of the two lovers together. It was just purely. And what happens when they're in the bathroom together?
I mean, this is kind of a snarky move, but Madonna's just like, wish me luck, which is very bold.
Yes, and then what
happens?
happens?
You just basically told the lady you're f***ing her husband, and you might have killed a guy.
Yeah.
So, and now you're like, hey, how about wish me luck? Julianne Moore slaps the shit out of her.
Yeah.
She testifies, and her testimony basically comes down to she loved him, but she didn't want to marry him because his marriages never lasted. He wanted the handcuffs because he liked to give up control for a while. He's very much in control all day long, to make decisions, meetings, whatnot. So he liked to be able to kind of let go, and she can run the show. At this point, the prosecutor, the district attorney, played by Joe Mantegna, he's just throwing Hail Mary. He's like, he's in rough shape. They're losing this case.
Bad.
He's throwing everything he can up there, trying to prove that it wasn't a coincidence that they met. But, she's just deflecting all of these. He tries to bring up the fact that she was sleeping with this other older guy and he had a heart condition. As soon as he was better, she bailed. And she says that's not the reason why she bailed. She bailed because she caught him in bed with someone else and she couldn't compete.
Yeah, and this is where she sort of breaks into tears. This is the first time we've seen...
This is the Madonna Oscar reel.
Yeah, this character vulnerable in that way. And, like, she's really, really upset.
He's incredulous. couldn't compete.
You
How's
have
that possible?
sex with anybody. Anything. You could compete with everyone.
His exact quote was... you couldn't compete? What was she using? A razor blade?
Oh, yeah. That was pretty great.
And now, with about 5 minutes left in this movie, we get just a really weird twist that I'm not sure why they even threw in here.
Yeah.
Turns out she couldn't compete because the older gentleman, played by Frank Langella, was in bed with a dude.
Yeah, she outed him.
Yep. Right there in the courtroom.
Yeah, it was really, really weird. Like, this moment of outing. And I mean... I guess it's in a courtroom and it's like stopping you from going to jail forever.
Yep.
But outing is not something that's like...
Well, and it's the truth. She's telling the truth.
Yeah.
Also, perjury.
Yeah.
You have to. She wouldn't perjure. Come on now.
Yeah. I don't know. It was a really strange thing to see.
It was a weird... To show up that late in the movie is an odd twist. But
and to
again,
make that choice, like, why did they choose to have that as a moment in there?
To make it more shocking.
Was it just for shock value?
I have to assume so. This
like,
whole movie
homosexuality is shocking?
In 1992?
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. But I guess I would say that's probably what they were going for.
Maybe. Anyway, the defense rests and she's not guilty. And we get another twist here. She leans in and says to Frank,
Thanks. You almost convinced me.
Oh.
Yeah, the big twist comes out.
She's guilty. We all knew she was guilty.
We all knew this.
Everyone knew.
Yeah.
Everyone knew from the jump. Secretary, Julianne Moore, everyone. She's guilty.
Yeah, absolutely. It was clear the way that she was acting, the way that she like completely sort of won over on Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, well, you get the impression, like, she's been playing him, she's been stringing him along. I don't think he knows exactly how much, but he's going to find out real soon. Because even though the DA, who knows what's up, is just like, trial's over, let it go. Let it go, Frank.
He told him to get away from it. Yeah, the DA was trying to help him.
He does not walk away. Much like before, he can't resist. He's got to go. Got to go get answers. Got to go confront her again. So he goes to confront her at the houseboat. And when he gets there, he hears her talking to someone. There's some more twists still in this never-ending twisty movie.
In there?
It's the German doctor, Dr. Paley.
What?
And it turns
Why is
out,
he there?
it's a conspiracy. Don't you know? It's a conspiracy because basically the German doctor went up there, teed one up for Madonna to just hit out of the park here. They could ruin his credibility to make her look more innocent. What do you call it? Like a reverse character witness. Dafoe figures out he's been played. Dr. Paley figures out he's been played. And unlike Dafoe, who I guess respects the hustle, Dr. Paley is furiously mad.
He's really mad. What does Madonna say to them, though, as she's describing this? Do you remember her
I
quote?
don't know. She fucks people. Wasn't that what it was?
That's what I do. I fuck.
Oh, yeah. That's something, all right. Yeah. So he attacks her.
It turns into an action scene.
It does.
We had zero action in this entire... Well, sorry. We had lots of sexy action. We
Not
had
like
zero
fighting action?
in this entire movie. And what do we get? Our first
it's
action
an
scene.
actual action sequence. They're playing like very heroic music while Willem Dafoe is trying to fight off this dude.
Yeah.
And he actually throws him over a railing, which I know you had been talking about last week, how you were upset that no one got thrown over that railing in Spookies.
I was happy it happened. They were fighting over
Right
a
over the
gun,
railing.
right? Like a gun goes off and it kind of grazes Madonna.
It was her gun. She pulled it out trying to defend herself.
And then Dafoe throws him over there, and we think that's done with, right? We think we're
and
good.
then he goes to check on her. She's okay, picks her up. But it turns out he didn't exactly finish the job on old Dr. Paley because he shoots Madonna twice right through the chest.
Yeah, he crawls up those stairs, points that gun, and shoots her twice.
Blows her away. And then as a little bonus for you, Cherry in the Sunday, she falls over a railing also.
She smashes back out that window.
Yep.
Giving me flashbacks to Commando.
There
right?
you go.
And back in there, splash into the water and floats up to the surface.
She did.
Yeah, and we get this sort of like floating look. This moment here really made me think of Sirens. Like I felt like they were like the Thing, like they were trying to tell me that she was a siren, right? And that's who she was. Like I don't know.
Oh,
if
and
it
now
was her.
she's gone back to the sea.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Her
She's gone.
song has been silenced.
Yeah, it's
we're really reaching for meaning here.
I don't know. I was trying. I was
God
having
damn,
a lot of
this
trouble
movie.
seeing what was happening.
Yeah. So basically at this point, now it's another crime scene. So the police come, they arrest Dr. Paley.
Yeah.
Joe Mantegna is back as the district attorney again. He asks Frank if he believes in karma. Frank tells him that he should have won the case. And his response is, I did. Because they're hauling the lady's dead body off,
Yeah,
which
I know that was dark, but
I mean, I guess
he's right.
Justice has been served,
And then,
kind of.
and then a really confusing ending for me. Who comes down the dock?
That should have been the ending.
Yeah,
Like right there. Like
Yeah.
I did. Boom. They're wheeling her out. Credits. But no, we get a little bonus footage of like Julianne Moore, who, despite the fact that her husband cheated on her multiple times and everyone knows it, and she was upset about it, and she's met the woman, and like it's all true. She's just there. She's back.
and we see them sort of walking off into the sunset together, like it's
walking
good.
off arm in arm. I guess they're gonna give it another go. And that's the end. And
Was that their goal at having a happy ending?
I don't know. This movie's just
Really bad.
it's this weird mishmash of like a 1960s court procedural with like a porno. I don't like you said. It's a weird like Law and Order and softcore. I don't know what this is, man.
It was not good.
God damn. This is dicey.
There was not a lot of redeeming acting. The
No.
music and tone was super on the nose, right? It was like,
You know what? Much
In your face the whole
like
time.
this thrust beer, I found this movie a little hard to swallow.
oh, how dare you? This thrust beer was delicious.
Not my speed, man. All
I
right.
really enjoyed
So let's rate this shit and get it over with. This is another swamp thing for me. I just want to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, you're just trying to rush us through here, man. Oh my
All
god.
right. I don't know what else to say about this. It's
We don't have anything else to say. I think it's appropriate to go to our rankings.
All right.
So once again, we
How
rank
bad?
the movie. Yeah, up to a 10 on how bad it is, and then again we'll rank it on up to a 10 about how enjoyable it is.
My main problem with this movie is the acting. The acting is often not good. This is like young Julianne Moore before she was like established, and Willem Dafoe is like just here getting a paycheck. Madonna's a terrible actress.
So before you give me your rating, does it get bumped up at all for like how much sex scenes,
nudity?
right? Yeah.
I won't lie to you. That's probably going to affect my enjoyable rating.
Okay, that's fair, I guess. Okay, but so
I don't know,
how bad do you think this movie was?
This is going to be real tough because what I'm going to say is going to sound crazy. Because we've done 4 other movies, we've ranked them how bad they are. I think this movie is an 8.
8 on the bad scale.
Like its only real crime besides the bad acting is it's kind of boring.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm saying this, but this movie got terrible reviews and it got just like shit on by critics. So you know what? You're
sticking with it. You got an 8.
Yeah, this is an 8 bad.
Yeah.
It is an 8.
All right. Well, I never want to see this again.
Well, we'll get to the enjoyable in a second.
But it's so hard on bad.
My difficulty was separating how bad from how unenjoyable it was.
Yeah, because that really affects my how bad too, right? I think I'm also going to give it an 8 on the bad scale.
Okay.
And I think it was mostly for some of its like unforgivable acting and some of the unforgivable choices they made within the movie itself too. Like the writing to me was garbage.
All right.
So an 8.
And how enjoyable for you?
Yeah, not good. As I said, I would never watch it again. The courtroom scenes were boring. I got 0 erections. Despite it being an erotic thriller. In terms of how enjoyable, I'm going to give this movie a 3.
Oh, you went even higher than I did. I'm going to give it a 2.
Yeah.
Well,
so you gave it a...
I'm being too hard on this.
No, you don't have to justify what you're giving it. So you went 2 and 8, so you're giving it a score of 10.
8 and 2.
Yeah. It's a score of 10 overall.
Not good.
Is that our worst score so far?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, by a hot mile.
And I've given it a 3 and an 8, which means it's an 11.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely not a great average.
Well, I think the good news is next week we're going to be watching a movie that should score significantly higher. Although this is going to be a rare one where you've seen it and I have not. Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Oh, I'm excited.
Do you expect me to enjoy this movie?
Well, I remember it from childhood, watching it on City TV of all places.
Right.
So I don't know why I have that connection. I remember watching it and not really understanding what was happening because it was so absurd. So I expect you're going to have a good time.
I mean, it wouldn't be hard to have a better time than we did this week. But thank you for sitting through this, if any of you are still here. If you want to subscribe and, give us a review, tell a friend, maybe not about this episode, maybe some of the other ones that were better.
It might be funny. The movie itself wasn't good, but hopefully our podcast was enjoyable.
Yeah, hopefully. And if you want to get in touch with us at the BMB podcast on Twitter or the BMB podcast at gmail.com, movie recommendations, whatever else. If you want to talk about Willem Dafoe's orgasm face, man, sure, whatever. I don't know.
Well, thank you again for watching, and we hope you will listen to us next week as well.
Yep.
Have a good night.
And we'll see you next time on Bad Movies and Beer.
Yeah. Keep it waxy.
Oh, God. You did it again. You son of a bitch. An act of love or an act of murder?